So today we are going to be talking about decluttering your home because sometimes our stuff can really weigh us down, and I believe can prevent us from pursuing our dreams because we're so cluttered up with stuff. So I was excited to connect with Joanne Reeder on this topic and invite her as our expert to come talk to us about this. So let me introduce you to Joanne. Joanne is a professional declutter coach and home organizer from Ontario, Canada. As a declutter coach, she helps women who are ashamed about the condition of their homes. She coaches women with online sessions ranging from 45-minute private Zoom calls to a 3-week private Facebook group program. These sessions are designed to develop a plan of action, assist with accountability, and teach tactics for motivation and continued success. Since 2016, Joanne has been a proud member of the Whitby Chamber of Commerce and Professional Organizers of Canada, serving for 2 years as the executive secretary for the Durham chapter. So Joanne, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your expertise today. I'm going to turn it over to you. And
okay, thank you so much for having me. So January is National Organization Month. And this is, it falls into our intentions January 1st. We're going to lose weight. We're going to take better care of our health. We're going to watch our money. We're going to clean our house. We're going to declutter all of this. And most people get started and they go really good for 2 weeks and then they stop. There's obstacles, there's the messy middle, or sometimes they've started one place, then they don't know where else to go. And that's why I do declutter coaching and home organizing. Home organizing, I go into somebody's home and I do it for them. Declutter coaching, I teach people how to do it themselves. I've been a professional organizer since 2015, and it was only actually right during the pandemic that I started coaching virtually, simply because I couldn't go into people's homes. And the very first one was a lady reached out to me, and she is in Washington State. We had a mutual friend, and for her, it was the house. Her and her husband had split up. She had left the house and left him and her 2 young adult sons to live alone in the house for 6 months. And then they moved out. She was moving back in to sell it. So I don't even think you'll see the pictures. And that's how it started. And we had a lot of success. And what I find with the virtual declutter coaching, this is the old, if you give a man a fish, he always has to come get another fish. You teach a man to fish, he can feed himself. And with the decluttering 101 strategies that I have here, this will work in every area of your home, every drawer, every closet, every room, every garage. So I'm going to get started with my slides. And sorry, just going to go to my share screen. Bear with me for a moment. Okay, and everyone can see that there?
yes.
Yep, great. Okay. So first of all, when we're going to start decluttering, you want to have a space in mind. Now, maybe you think, oh, it's my whole house needs it. Okay, you will get there. You can do that, but we've got to start somewhere. And I like to recommend to all my clients, let's start with the smaller, easier spaces, what I like to call the low-hanging fruit. And by doing this, you're going to stop the overwhelm. I also recommend don't start with anything very emotional. Start with something that's not emotional. And what emotional might be, you're going to start sorting through your photographs. Okay, that's going to take a while, because with that too, you might have some happy memories, emotional. You start going and then you remember this vacation. And all of a sudden, you've just spent an hour or two looking and enjoying your photographs, but they're not organized. And the same thing, there might be something difficult. It's hard for us if a loved one has passed, and generally anything that they've touched, we want to keep. It's like keeping a part of them. That's also very emotional. And we can work through that, but that's better to save towards the end of your decluttering journey, once you've built up your decluttering muscle. And really, it is a muscle. It's just practice is what you need. So to get started, first of all, look at a space. And I do recommend something small, one drawer, maybe it's one tote, one shelf. Okay, and let's get, before we even start pulling anything out, let's get our tools of the trade ready. So you'll want labels, and labels come in all sorts and sizes. I'm a big one for reuse, repurpose, recycle. Most of us have everything we already need in our home. Okay, so there's masking tape is really popular, Post-it notes. Go ahead and get some fancy decor labels. In regards to those, though, I do recommend that that's going to be later on in your process. And my favorite is simply green painter's tape. I use this everywhere. I use it professionally in clients' homes. I use it in my own home. And a little bonus about this, I know some people want to have the nice looking decor labels in their kitchen. I did that at one time in my home, and nobody could read them. All of a sudden, nobody knew how to read. The moment I used my Sharpie and put this up, everybody could see the green. So if somebody else was unloading the dishwasher, they knew where everything was. And even for myself, this trains my eye. If I'm in a client's home and I'm working in the basement, and I might not come back for a week, but when I go back in a week, I can see every box that has a green tape. I don't have to be squinting, looking. I can see it. And just like for yourselves, if you have, sometimes we have a decluttering project that might take a month or two. We can't be in there every day, and you might only be able to go in there once a week. And so you did a lot of work the one weekend, the next weekend you come back and you scratch your head, and it's going to take you 15, 20 minutes to figure out where you left off. Not if you look at the green painter's tape, or if you have the bright Post-it notes, whatever label it is will help you. And then you also want containers. And same thing, don't go out and buy anything right now, because you don't even know what sizes you might need. You want garbage bags, because we will have trash to throw out. You want bins or boxes, and plastic baggies are really good to keep in your organizing tools, because many times, be it we're in our office, or even if you're in the kitchen or your bedroom, there's all these little tiny things that seem to fly all over. Containerize them, put them in the baggie for now. They're going to be easy to find later. And one of the most common mistakes, though, that I do see is when containers are not labeled. I have been into so many clients' homes that as we're sorting through, let's say it's the living room, I find a plastic bag or a box and there's stuff in it. And I'll say, "What's this?" And the client will say, "That was from my last decluttering session. It was supposed to go out, but still it remained there. It just remained hidden in." So mark that, or either make it easy on yourself. Do you just use black garbage bags for trash? Maybe blue bags or green bags for donates? Get your own system going, so it'll keep working for you. And I highly recommend using a timer. And why I mention a timer, we have them on our phones. I actually like to use these little dollar store ones. This will help stop with the overwhelm. If you ever get started, and especially paperwork or something that's really torturous, 10 minutes doing that will feel like an hour and you're going to burn out. But if you think to yourself, I can do anything for 10 minutes, you will get through it. And as you're looking at your timer, you're just about ready to quit, but it's 7 minutes and you only have 3 minutes left. You'd be amazed at how much you can finish in those 3 minutes, and then just stop. I've seen other people, and I was speaking with Ellen about this last week, with the all or nothing mindset. And that was something that I had years ago too. Actually, in February of this year will be my 20th anniversary of the start of my decluttering journey. And that started, this is way before Facebook. If anybody remembers MSN groups or Fly Lady, at the time I had read in one of our women's magazines, that's what we used to do, that Fly Lady had an article, and it was crazy about how you could clean your home in 15 minutes a day. And she said crazy things. I remember her saying the bathroom will clean itself. I was like, what? I have 3 bathrooms. That is me cleaning all of them. There's no way. And I also knew, though, to make my home look nice, I needed a new carpet. We needed a new couch. We needed a deep clean. I needed to hire a cleaning company. This is what I was thinking. And I also thought that it would take forever to do all this, but I followed her. Her technique was start your timer for 15 minutes and set a certain time in the day, set a schedule. So for me, I thought I can put this off really easy. And instead of doing it in January, because there's like 31 days in that month, I cheated. I thought I can't commit to that long, but I'll commit to the 28 days of 15 minutes. Well, at the end of that February, I saw such a change in my home that I kept going and became addicted. For me, it did take 18 months. I have a 3-level home, basement, main floor, and second level. It took me 18 months to go through the entire home till my hands had been on everything and we were organized. And, with life, I'm sure we've all been on the organizing cycle, and then you kind of go up and down and up and down. But when you are organized, you realize how much easier everything in life is. And you actually save quite a bit of money, not just your time. Cleaning an organized home takes half the time to clean. So I'm going to move on to another slide here. And this is a very simple acronym: SPACE. The 5 steps to start. First of all, you sort. So I'm going to keep recommending with my 10-minute timer, and when you sort, it's simply choose an area that you want to change. Say it's one shelf. Take everything out of the shelf and put it down. And, the very most you want to do is 1 hour, because life happens. If you did spend an hour taking everything out, and then all of a sudden you've got to go do a mad dash, by the time you come back, you're not going to want to touch this. But if you can do 10 or 15 minutes, take it out, sort it. And when you're sorting, you want to go like with like. If we're in the kitchen, for example, and you're going through a cupboard, you've got your teacups, you've got your teas, those are like with like. Maybe you want to have all your coffee and tea supplies there, such as your sugar and whatnot. But you'll probably find a few other things. Like I always find electronics, I find office supplies, I find gift cards and paper stashed in every single area of the home. Those you want to pull out and just go back to your like with like, and look at items. Do you have a hard time letting go? Personally, for me, a mindset that I believe I inherited, it was both my parents grew up in the Depression and on farms. So it was we might be able to use that one day. And by doing that, that actually costs you quite a bit. So, look at it. Do you have doubles? Do you really need a double? And that's our sorting. You go through. Then the second step, as after you've sorted them, so you can see, if you're in the kitchen, how many teacups do I have? How many coffee mugs do I have? How many different supplies of tea do I have? Then you start the purge, which is the P. And I'm going to tell you, though, this is something new, because most organizers tell you you have to get rid of everything. I'm going to give you permission to get rid of everything that you want. You're allowed to do that, but you also have permission to keep everything. Maybe you're not ready to let that go right now. And rather than getting yourself in a state of mind of overwhelm, oh, I should be getting rid of it, I should be getting rid of it, then you stop, it's a meltdown, and you don't move forward. You can make the choice to keep it, and that's fine. Now, the third item is to assign a home. So you're going through your kitchen and you're thinking, okay, so I do want to keep all my tea and coffee items up here on this shelf. But also other things that I pulled out of there, you know, the electronics and the paper and whatnot. They need to find their other home. You know, if you want to assign your papers a home there with your coffee and your teacups, that's fine. But chances are you're going to want them in another place. And the one beauty about assigning a home, and you might not be able to think of it right away, and you're allowed to change this anytime you want, is that if a member of your family, or maybe it's just yourself, has an item in their hand and they're not sure where it's going to go, chances are they're just going to put it down. But if that has a home, there's a really good chance they're going to put it away. So rather than put it down, put it away. And that's one thing I like to coach a lot of my clients on. Just, you know, look, if you've been watching TV and you get up, we don't have commercials anymore, but you might have to get up to do something. Look at your table right beside you. Is there a couple magazines, reading glasses? Did you leave your earrings there? You know, set a timer for 5 minutes, just tidy that up, put these items away. And that is going to be building on your decluttering muscle and your strength. And this is going to move out towards your own home. And this is also good practice for what I like to call passive decluttering. Many people, clients, they say to me afterwards, I can't believe that I just kind of wandered around in the morning. I'm still half asleep and I put everything away. That is passive decluttering. You don't even realize you're doing it anymore. It's become such a habit. It is no longer work. It's just something that you do. And step 4 is the containerize, which is, I know quite a few people, you know, I talked to them on the phone about a consultation, say, yeah, okay, this is great. Let's get started. Okay, what containers should I go out and buy? Well, actually, containers really are step number 4. I recommend go to your, well, here in Ontario, our recycling, we call a blue bin. I've got tons of cardboard boxes in there. I've got all sorts of like plastic, like margarine cups or whatnot, which are great. If you've got crafts or sewing, you know, that will corral all the small things. And as long as you have a label on that container, you don't even need to open it when you're going in to see what it is. And then after containerizing, and another thing about the containers too, when I say that you don't know exactly where or what you need. Now, it's one thing, sure, you can measure your shelves and figure out exactly, okay, I need containers that are like 4 inches high and 8 inches long, or this width here. But also, for example, let's say if it was, I'm going to go with sewing. So you've got fabrics there, and maybe you want to organize your fabrics by color. So let's say you've got red, blue, and yellow fabrics. I wouldn't say go out and buy 3 exact same containers for that, because guess what? You might have 100 yards of blue fabric. You're going to need a bigger container. Your red container, maybe that's only 50. A smaller container will work for that. The yellow, maybe that's only 10. You might decide at the end, hey, I'm going to mix the red with the yellow. So that's why containers come last. And I'm the first person, I'm famous for going into the dollar store. Like if I go into a client's home, I've got my tool bag with me. I don't go in there and I don't measure out all their drawers the very first time I go in there. We get started. And then I take my little margarine containers, little box tops, and I just simply put them in the different drawers or shelves to see which one will fit. I take a picture, I bring the same thing over to the dollar store, and then I match it up. Easy peasy. I definitely know that this will fit in the client's home. And then step 5 is equalize, which is the maintenance. And I promise you, if you ignore step 5, your home is going to go right back to the way it was. I saw that happen many times going into clients' homes. I finish it, it looks great, and everybody is so happy at the end of the reveal. You know, I send them an email with maintenance and whatnot, but they get busy, and sure enough, in 6 months, I get a phone call again. Yeah, it's back to the way it was. And maintenance, though, should be it shouldn't be that you're spending hours and working hard. Maintenance should become a passive decluttering. Once you've cleaned out your closet and you've organized that, no less than 10 minutes a week of just putting back the items that do kind of fall disarray, or items that don't even belong in your closet and they seem to find a way into there. In less than 10 minutes on a Sunday, you could have a great looking closet for the Monday. So I'm going to show a few pictures of from different clients of mine. This was the lady I mentioned who reached out to me. Actually, it was last March. She was in quarantine, so she did have all the time in the world. And she's the one where the husband and 2 young adult sons had left, and she was moving back in. So, oh, I missed one. So that is one side of the bathroom counter. It's double sinks, and this is the other side here. So with her, this was working in her bathroom. She probably did this in about 5 to 6 hours. There was 2 nights that she was in the home and we were texting back and forth. She'd go work for 45 minutes, come back, send me some pictures. I'd give her another task to do. And with this, why she'd reached out, she also had a lot of overwhelm, which is common. And that's where I recommend, use blinders, not a blindfold, but blinders. So in this bathroom, we started with, okay, let's go for the easiest one. To the left of the sink, let's just work on that counter space. Try that, set your timer for 15 minutes. How far can you go? And then in between the sinks. And then the last one was the hardest one, and that was the longer area to the right. So this is what it was like during the middles, right? There's a bit of stuff out there as she was going through. And she even, because it took the 2 nights, she was able to clear out everything underneath here. And for most of us, underneath the bathroom sink, that is just an abyss. I've had so many clients tell me, before they decluttered, if something went wrong with the plumbing, it was a nightmare. Oh my God, we have to get a plumber in here. How am I going to get all this stuff out from here? Where one of the successes and the benefit is you call the plumber and maybe you spend 15, 20 minutes making it look tidy, but you're happy to see him. And also, if there is a leak and you don't have that much stuff down there, less to clean up for you, less to get wrecked. And this is how she finally finished off here. So she did use the baskets for everything that she wants to use, but you can see quite a big difference there. And that was probably about 6 hours that it took her. And also in parts, some shelving units that were in the bathroom. Now the boys had taken some things, but it was, let's just start with the floor. Let's figure out one area. We started with the floor area, and then she just went from shelf to shelf to shelf, just one at a time. And this was what there's the kitchen, and this is what the living room area was. And this took her 2 days. Some of the items she was able to sell, quite a bit of it she was donating, and some of it was just simply trash. And as you can see, this is what she ended up with after 2 days. And she took many breaks. When she would get to overwhelm, she would stop, she'd have a latte, go for a walk, she could come back in and do it. And if you're working in an area and you start getting that overwhelm, finish your 10 minutes, you can do it. Stop and take a break, go for a walk, go get a coffee, just go out of there. And, for how this room was, if this is causing you a lot of stress, as you can see, like she had different totes and whatnot. With this, we just picked one area of the floor and started working there. Actually, I'm sorry, we started with the table so she could have a space to sort and not hurt her back. But if you have areas like this where it's just too overwhelming to work in, grab a tote, or actually just bring a basket in there, fill the basket up, go back to your living room, go back to like a calm space and work through that basket for your 10 minutes. Another way to make it, I hear that decluttering can be boring or, just so monotonous. Think of things that you enjoy that you might be able to use to multitask while you're doing this. For example, sure, while you're doing it, put on, the hair balm or, a mud mask, but also, especially if it's not, if we're going through our paperwork for our taxes, we need a keen mind on that. But a lot of this, we don't need 100% focus on it. So, do you like listening to podcasts? Maybe you like a 30-minute podcast. I bet you if you turn on a 30-minute podcast that you really enjoy and do 10 minutes, set your timer for 10 minutes while you're listening, do a first round, give yourself a break for 10 minutes, just listen to the podcast, go back and finish that. Do you like listening to audiobooks? Maybe you're going to declutter for 1 chapter a day or 2 chapters. If you're really getting into it, go for 2. Do you like watching TV shows? For me, when I first started on my decluttering journey, a couple of things for me was paperwork. That was torture, and I would do anything to get out of it. But at the time, this is when we actually had commercials on TV, no PBRs. I liked Law and Order. I could sit there and do easily an hour's worth of paperwork, or let's call it 45 minutes because that's what it is without commercials. And my paperwork was done at the end of the hour, and I had actually enjoyed myself because I could watch a show that I enjoyed, and the torturous tasks that I was doing became very small in torture, and I felt very accomplished. And you'll feel good about it. It's just the baby steps, and that's how we get there. It didn't happen overnight. So, and here's some, okay, now in her closet, this was the master closet. As you can see, a lot on the floor. And if you have a lot on your floors in your closets, that's very normal. But think about, do you want to use the floor as storage? Or is it just simply, it's just been stashed and dashed and I didn't know where to put it? Okay, well, let's find homes for that. And let's start thinking. We might not come up with it yet, but where can I assign a space for that? And she did quite well with this. This was, I think, it was under 3 hours that she managed to accomplish that. Tackling, going in, I'm going to get the floor, quite a bit actually went in the garbage for here. So that was an easy one. And for her, this was all non-emotional items. She also has a business, and I helped her with her desk. There was one day, as you can see here, these are her photos. There was paper all over. It was quite a bit of overwhelm. And she felt, I think we started about 10 a.m. in the morning, or no, she's 3 hours behind me in Washington. So I think it was 8 a.m. for her time. Before she left for lunch, she had her desk done, besides dealing with all her staff and whatnot too. And when I talk about containers, so as you can see in this drawer here, this is a mixture. It's t-shirts, it's socks, it's underwears. They're all over, right? Folded somewhat. But here, by simply putting one container in the center, now there's 3 different sections. I mean, you could go out and buy 3 containers, but is it necessary? Less is more. And even the pink basket in here, that can be easily moved over if you had less in here. And in here, there is a different folding technique, as you're going through, and this is something later, but it can also be really fun. Go spend a bit of time on YouTube. There's no wrong way to fold clothes. Marie Kondo has some wonderful ideas. They work in many spaces, but there's also quite a few other good ideas. And it depends on how, high your drawers are for what you can be doing. I'm a big fan of the file versus the pile fold. And this here is the file fold where you can see, I think you can see here, this is what the pile fold is. You do save a lot more room. I had one client, she did the file fold for her sweaters and her drawers, and they took up 2 of her drawers. By doing the file fold as opposed to the pile fold, it took up 1.5 drawers. So she instantly gained without decluttering a thing. And that's one great thing about containers too. They'll make everything look tidier. You'll be able to find it better. Now here's another client, and this was the front hall closet. Husband and wife and 2 kids, pre-teens live there. Busy family, stash and dash. And I know all you ladies are in the States, but here in Ontario, our homes, even though we're cold and we have major winter, so you need the big bulky parkas. And for every member of your family, they have at least 2 or 3 coats. You know, the good one, the out in the play one, the work one. And unless you have a custom built home, all our homes have these tiny closets. So that's a real challenge here. So this is what she started with. And it was an hour and a half later, this is what she came with. And for her though, it is maintenance, and she kept up with it, you know, because there is the kids. And most of what it was just the garbage. And when she went through there, she found all these items that should not be homed in the foyer closet. So then it was finding a home for them, which is a whole new struggle, but it can be done. And I'm just going to keep moving on here. Okay. And here's another client. This was her bedroom closet. She had it right. She used vertical storage, pegs on the wall up here. She's got shelving up here. You know, we want to use as much vertical space as we can to stop the stuff from the floors. And then she had totes down here and some bags. And she did spend, it was 2 or 3 hours, but she was able to trim away. She didn't need all the totes. And this here was actually some of her donates right there. So it's a big difference. And what a change when you walk in the morning, trying to find your clothes could be a lot easier. And if any of you have questions, I can answer them now or later. You know, most of us, we have 3 different sizes of clothes. Clothes that fit me right now, clothes that are going to fit me in a size or 2 larger, and clothes that fit me in a size or 2 smaller. Now, the only time that there's a problem for that, because most people say, you know, our waiter is up and down and I'm not ready to let it go. Whatever your weight is right now should be the focus in your closet. The ones that are a size or 2 small, I recommend, if you have storage space someplace, you know, in a basement or an attic, you know, mark it, label, you know, on the box, these are the 2 small, and maybe it's all pants in one box. Tees, it's the like with like t-shirts, dress shirts, the same thing with the large. And if you do not have room for storage, one of my favorite techniques to use is those vacuum seal storage bags. Has anybody here ever used one? Okay, Andrea has. They are amazing. They are absolute. I did a video on one and it took me 13 seconds. I took 4 regular standard pillows that we put, you know, on your bed, shove them into that vacuum seal bag, 13 seconds for it to go down like this. Talk about space saving. And, you know, when they're like that, if you're short in storage, they can go underneath the bed. They can go behind a dresser, behind your headboard. You can swap out your winter summer clothes easily that way. And especially winter, when you've got your parkas and whatnot, the big heavy ones that take up so much space. And I'm a big dollar store fan. I have never gone, the most I paid for a vacuum seal storage bag was $4. And I reused it for 3 years. So I'm all about the dollar store. You don't need to go for vacuum storage bags. You don't need to spend more than $4. And that is a huge game changer. Now, here was a linen closet. You know, linens like she's got pillows up there. She's got a quilt. The quilt was falling down. And that did take her a couple of hours, but it was a lot of sorting and a lot of purging. And this is what she ended up with here, where it is usable. That was a family of 5. And with them, it was the kids had grown quite a bit. And she just hadn't taken the time, didn't have the time before to do that.
And I'm just so appreciate you coming on, Joanne, and sharing, I don't know, so many great tips, so many great photos. It's clear, I don't know. I feel like there's always stuff to be decluttered, and somehow we just accumulate more stuff. And so it needs to become a practice. And I love how you chunk it down into, you know what, just take a few minutes, put a timer on, and pair it, especially the mindless stuff, with something that's enjoyable, so that it doesn't have to be this whole, painful ordeal that you never even get started on, because you're thinking, I got to spend a whole day doing it, or I got to spend, January, the whole month, I'm going to do this. So I love the breaking it down. I really appreciate your expertise on this, because it really is something a lot of people struggle with. And I think, we're just inundated with stuff.